It's like a different vibe, you know, but it's good.
This one makes me want to
Welcome to
turn
Mornings
around.
with Matt. Personal
What do you mean,
and
turn
professional
around?
development
Like, turn around in my
training
chair
that
like a
connects
newscaster
the
would.
art of acting with critical life skills and self-mastery. Presented by the Deering Acting Studio.
Alrighty, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mornings with Matt. I am here this morning with my wife, Leeann.
Hello, sweetheart.
Sweetheart, good morning.
Good morning to you.
I love you so much.
I love you back.
So we're going to talk about some stuff today.
Yeah, I would love to talk about some stuff with you.
First off, I was thinking it might be interesting, perhaps, to let people in a little bit on our journey.
Okay.
Because I think the two of us we are very vocal about the fact that we don't think we know what's going on. We're just trying our best, you know?
Yeah.
But we're also like, if there's a way that we can help people through our story, through our struggles, through the things that we have figured out, we'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So for instance, both of us have given up alcohol, which is
Yep.
something that we don't condemn in other people, but it was something that for us was a major life turn, you know? And everyone on this show has heard me say February 2nd, 2018, the day I woke up. They know what that's about. So talk to us about your journey and what it was like when, you know, going through some of these milestones with me. And, you know, if you're willing to, maybe even go into some of the hard things and then maybe where you're at now.
That's a huge question because there's so many parts to our story. And there's a lot of beautiful woven in with some of the broken early on. So I don't even know how to begin to answer a question of that scope, but I guess I'll go back to college, like right before I met you.
Okay.
I just had a really unhealthy relationship, first of all, to self. I've realized that now. I just didn't like myself very much in college. And that led to a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol.
So what do you mean you didn't like yourself?
I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to just be and believe that I was enough in any circumstance. I think I was always posturing, always presenting a version of myself to whoever I was talking to that I hoped would be acceptable to them.
Yeah.
And
I know early on in our marriage as well, we went through times when it was very painful for you to not feel like you had a good friend group or like a real friend group.
Yeah.
Right?
And that was because I think my friendships didn't go deep. Because I was afraid as soon as I hit a point of controversy with a friend, as soon as I showed my authentic self, or any kind of mess or tension or struggle, that then I would be an unacceptable offering to that person as a friend. And so my relationships were an inch deep in a lot of cases.
And then how did that pain surface? How did it manifest itself? Like through social media and different things that were attacks on you, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, social media was when you and I got married. It was 2008. So what was around? Pinterest was not around yet. Facebook was.
We're before Pinterest. Are you serious?
We got married right before Pinterest.
Wow.
We really did.
We're old, Rosie.
Well, I don't even think Instagram was, or if it was in its infancy. Like
Sure.
it was. So anyway, I was learning how to navigate that stuff with the rest of the world, you know, and I got caught in the comparison trap, and it was definitely it didn't add anything to my life and my life force for a long time. It detracted.
Sure. And then I know that you have really come into your own as a mother and have really come into your confidence. And I'd say in the way that it is now, really recently in the last, say, 3 years or so, you've made some major turning points. And I mean, you've always been an amazing mother since day one, but there's a newness about the confidence that you have now. I think I remember saying something to you the other day where I was like, if you, Leeann, 8 years ago when Jack was born, saw you now, you would look at that woman and be like, oh, I could never be like her. How does she do that? Like you would be doing all those like self-depreciating things that you used to say to yourself. So let's talk about about being a stay-at-home mom and being a comedian and doing all the things that you're doing and coming into the confidence of what that is?
Well, so let's back up a minute, because you said something really nice about me a minute ago, which was that you're impressed with the mother I've become. And thank you, first of all. That feels really nice. I'm a words of affirmation person, so that fills my bucket.
And you look beautiful too, by the way.
Oh, thank you, honey. I will tell you that the biggest shift happened, and a lot of this was by observing you and what went on in your life, and what God has done and what he's continuing to do in your life. But the thing that started to change for me was that it is okay for us to work on ourselves in front of our children.
Yeah.
It is okay for us to let our children watch God fix our hearts. That's okay. We don't have to keep that process separate from them. In fact, it's often our biggest testimony to our kids and to our families. I've worked through, and I'm working through, I'm far from perfect at it, a lot of defense mechanisms up, where if I received a piece of criticism from you about something I could have done differently, or a different way an interaction could have gone, either with you or with the kids, my first response was what in the past? Fill in the blank.
Quick anger.
Quick anger.
Yelling. Yeah.
And defensiveness, kind of victimizing myself and
Sure.
saying, well, you have no idea what my day was like, and blah, 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 blah. And
Or immediately going to, well, I'm doing too much, so something's gonna come off the table, and I told you I can't.
right.
Yeah.
And I still get caught in that trap sometimes, but I get caught in that trap less now, because I've realized it's okay to just own what I've done wrong. It's okay. It's all right to let people in. You don't have to present a perfect facade all the time in order to be lovable or acceptable. And one of the biggest lessons of my 30s is that I am loved, fully known, and fully forgiven just by virtue of the fact that I am a created being in God's image.
Yeah.
And coming to know that not just as head knowledge, but as heart knowledge, slowly in increments. This is not some like light bulb that was just like, wow, look how wonderful my life is now. I still grapple. I'm still a person. Like, I still have days where I feel these feelings. But that's been the central message that I feel like God has been delivering to me through my 30s. And that crosses over into marriage and into parenting. So I hope that's what you're seeing when you said that.
100%. I'd like to ask you, how hard was the first year after I made my transformation?
It was hard.
Because I feel like it was really tough on you. As a matter of fact, I remember sitting you down and apologizing to you, because I said to you,
yeah,
babe, I apologize. I'm not the man you married. I know that. I know I have gone 360 here, like complete turnaround.
Yeah.
But I'm not going back. I said that to you, and I said I'm going to love you anyway, but I'm not going to go back. Do you remember that?
And what you meant by that, of course, was that you had begun a path where you were no longer going to settle
Right.
for the same types of laziness and behaviors and negative patterns. At the time, and selfishness is another struggle of mine, just kind of making everything about me. I heard that as an attack. I heard it as, well, you're going to stay there. I'm going to move ahead in the journey of life. Where we were is no longer an acceptable place. If you don't want to come, that's cool. I'll still love you from where you are. And that wasn't what you were saying at all, but that was how my mind interpreted the message at first. And I wish I could go back, and I wish I could say to myself, this is an invitation. It's an invitation to stumble through the same forest together and to do it holding hands. There is a Bible verse that says it's better for two to travel than one, basically, because if one falls down, the other one can pick the person up. And I think that was maybe what you were hoping to invite me into at the time, and I just didn't know how to receive that message.
Well, 100% that's what it was, but I got to tell you, I don't know if I should feel bad about this or not, but the message you received was the message I was giving, actually.
Okay, never mind, then I'm mad.
But it wasn't an attack.
Yeah.
It was actually, hey, I love you. I'm going to love you no matter what.
Yeah.
But there is this other path. There is this journey that I want to invite you on. That is so exciting, and that either way, there's no way I'm going to not love you. I'm committed to loving you for the rest of my life. But I found this thing by waking up every morning and reading the Bible, and it has changed my life from the inside out, and I just want it for you so badly. Yeah. But I can't force it upon you, you know? And then
But that was an offer. What you just said there, that was an offer extended in gentleness and compassion. And what I'm saying to you is I heard it as an attack at the time.
Right.
Which says more about where I was, and let's be honest, where I sometimes still end up. But hopefully, by God's grace, I'm traveling in the right direction now, so that I can at least understand that there's an offer contained in this. It's not an accusation. It's not, you're not scolding.
Well, and one of the things I've tried to put into the teachings and explain to people is that if you look at the person and you try to find their center, and if we say, for us at the studio and for me, if the center is love, even if I'm wrong, even if I deliver it wrong, but if you know me and believe in my heart and you think I'm coming from love, if you can assume that first, you can usually find what's real or try to find what's real, like ask the good question, right?
Yeah.
Instead of assuming that, oh, it's an attack on me, or, oh, they think this way of me. And it's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But to take the assumption of this person loves me, the message is coming from love, let me try to find where the love is in this message.
But that's a discipline to learn to see people that way. Because look, in this case, your intent was very good, right? We'll use this as an example, not to like beat a dead horse, but because your offer was full of love, and I couldn't see that at the time. And then let's move beyond that to a world that is hurting and angry and caustic and fighting right now. How can we see even people who we perceive are acting in anger right now at us for any number of reasons? How can we look at them and still say, there is some part of this that is rooted in love. There's some part of this that is rooted in a hope or a lack thereof, and they're acting out of pain. But to learn how to see people through that lens, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to reach behind what you think they're saying into the truth. That takes so much discipline.
That's a part of the idea of forgiveness too. And you walk through this this idea of just assuming, I forgive you immediately. What you're going through in your attack on me has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your struggle. And my only job is to love you through your struggle, even though I'm being persecuted. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole nother discipline right there.
Yeah.
But, all the pastors always tell the joke about, driving on the street and somebody gets angry at them and how that can be a discipline, right? Well, that same example happens all the time. It happens with our children. It happens with our neighbors. It happens with the people at the grocery store. Just somebody's having a bad day and something happens that triggers them.
Yeah.
And you get, I'll just say, punished, for lack of a better word. You get punishment, and the punishment was not worthy of the crime. Mm-hmm. Let's say you just, you were just not paying attention in the checkout line, and the grocer just goes off on you.
Yeah.
Just completely unleashes anger, and you're like, wait a minute. Like, I understand maybe I was on my phone or something, but where is all this anger coming from?
That exact scenario has happened to me. And right now, especially with everything going on, one person has a mask on, one person doesn't.
Yeah.
And everyone is so primed to be hurt and mad and rage. And if you're on the receiving end of that rage, how can you stop and breathe and do? I guess I'm asking you this. What is the best advice you have for stopping and regulating the self when you get triggered so quickly like that, and looking past the actions and into the heart? What do you think is the best strategy?
Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to figure out. So in this scenario, what exactly happened? So
I was checking out. This might have been right before COVID stuff got really crazy. It was it was percolating, but it wasn't full blown yet. And I put everything on the conveyor belt, and I had started conversing with the cashier, and I stopped to respond to a message. I think it was from you. And I don't know how long I was looking at my phone for. I thought it was only a couple of seconds. And we'd already established a little bit of a rapport. And she shouted at me to bring me back to reality. She said, "Hello, hello," like really loud. And it jolted me. And I looked up and I said, "Hello, I'm here with you." And we continued the checkout interaction, and she just kept rolling her eyes and was just like I had triggered something in her. It was very obvious by looking down at my phone to respond to a message.
Now, did you realize instantaneously that it was about the phone?
That's what it appeared to me.
Great.
That's what it seemed.
Now, let me ask you, do you think people should ignore other people and be on their phones middle of a conversation, even if it's a stranger or whatever? Like, is that like a polite thing to do?
No.
Okay. Now, some people are going to be more reactive and less reactive. Some people have a terrible day going on and they react in a way that's inappropriate, which is what this lady did. But if you can agree, like, hey, that's not a great practice. It's not something I would encourage my kids to do, for instance,
For
right?
sure.
So like, and so I always try to go back to this idea of the father-son with God and us.
Yeah.
And I go back to like me and my kids. So when I'm trying to discipline myself, and that's my spirit inside me telling me what I know is right and what I know is wrong, I try to go to God, to my Father, and go, okay, what am I supposed to do really versus what am I doing? And I think about funny things like, would I allow my child to watch TV for 8 hours a day? Would I allow my child to eat pie at midnight? Would I allow my child to do these certain things? And the answer is always no.
Right.
So then I say, well, if I would discipline them, why would I discipline them? Why would I not allow them to? Well, because I love them. They want to do it still, but I tell them no because I love them. And even if they don't like me, it's okay. I know it's what's best for them. Well, I may not like me if I'm telling myself don't eat the pie. I might be like, dude, like, but I have to love me enough to say no to that thing, right?
Sure.
So here's a very small thing with the phone. But if I can acknowledge, hey, I wouldn't teach my kid to do this. I actually don't think it's a good thing. Do I think the punishment was too much for the crime? I do. But either way, if I can immediately snuff out what's wrong that I did, I think the key is to take full accountability immediately and just dive right into it.
Just say, I'm so sorry. I got distracted by my phone. That was rude.
That's
And
right.
just
I was being
own it.
totally rude, and wow, shame on me. I'm really sorry.
sorry,
I'm going
yeah.
to put this away, give you my full attention. I really apologize. You probably get that a lot, and that stinks for you. You don't have to even say that next part, but you basically just acknowledging
No, but
it.
that would make her feel so seen.
Totally. And you make
'Cause it does happen all
and
the
you make
time.
it just as serious as she made it. Because to her, either it was that moment or something else is going on in her life, but either way, you're right. She wants to be seen, she wants to be heard. She feels like you're feeling like you're better than her or something. There was something triggered there, right? And we don't know what it is, but we know what the catalyst was.
Yeah.
So you just acknowledging it rather than saying like, it's not a big deal. It was just on my phone. Like, I didn't deserve that kind of yelling. And that's how we want to initially react immediately. All of us want to get defensive. We want to defend our actions. We don't want to be persecuted.
That's so true.
In such a way that, especially when it doesn't feel like it's warranted, like how much we get an attack from something like that feels small. But rather than covering it up, I like to go quickly. How do I get to the thing where I am at fault? I think I said this to you recently, this whole idea of speaking out loud. It's my fault.
It's always my
It's
fault.
always my fault.
Yeah.
Everything is my fault. If I can figure out how it's my fault, then I can at least do something to adjust me. Even if I can't change your mind, I can at least adjust my own behavior to hopefully not be in this same circumstance with either you or somebody else in the future.
So can I ask a follow-up question? Because I think that was fantastic advice. Taking quick, complete accountability for where I was culpable. But let's put us in another situation now where there is an explosive reaction from someone and the cause is either unclear or there isn't really a very evident cause. It's it just happens and you're quickly triggered. What do you do in that?
You mean they're
circumstance?
triggered or you're triggered?
They're triggered. So
Yeah.
you're finding yourself on the receiving end of someone else's volatility.
Well, it goes back to the same thing. So you dig really quick. I can't actually figure it out. Truthfully, I'm going digging. I'm going, okay, what did I do? Then I go right into it. But this is me. I'm very confrontational,
Yeah.
but I believe in this. So I would look at the person and say, I'm very sorry. It seems like I might have offended you somehow, some way. Is there something I did or said? clarify, please, because if I did offend you in any way, shape, or form, I would love to know what that was and apologize for that thing.
Gosh, it's so disarming to have somebody speak that candidly and softly too, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not done very often.
Well, I say to people, I talk about this listening thing, the best listener in the room, and that it is a superpower. It legitimately is a superpower. Like you just said, it's disarming. So this person's hostile, right? So they essentially have an emotional gun in their hand, and you disarm them. And and I say, like, if you reply that way from love, but you have to mean it from love.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Because I could say those exact same words and be nasty.
Right.
I could go, I'm sorry. Did I offend you? Did I offend you in some way? Is there something I did wrong?
Right.
And the person's going to, that's going to be a fight.
Right.
But if you actually mean it sincerely and you want to get to the love, you want to get to where you're culpable so that you can make it right. If that's your sincere desire, they will feel it. It is disarming. And there's really nothing they can do or say to keep it going because they are completely disarmed by your love.
Yeah.
This goes back to all the old stuff, like, love over hate, the Star Wars, the light and the dark, like all the same stuff. Like when you bring in the love, it sort of just, it knocks out the darkness immediately.
That's so good. And to bring it back to home and the domain where we exercise the most control, right? Where we're parents and when we get to make the rules. Because you just brought up love. The other day I was talking with the kids about the definition of love, reading them the biblical definition of love, which we've all heard a bazillion times. But the first two are patient and kind. And I realized I couldn't go any further than that and say that I was a loving person, which was a very sobering reality. Leeann is patient? Nope. Leeann is kind? Sometimes. And I looked at those two and I thought, okay, well, what is the one habit? What's the one thing that I can do with my kids today to help start working on the first definition that Christ gave me of what love is? So for me, that's a person who's slow to anger, who doesn't yell, right? I still yell more than I wish I did as a parent. I've improved, but I still yell. And I sat down with my kids at the kitchen table, our kids, and I said, Mommy's going to have a no yelling for 60 days challenge. And if you guys want to try to set another good habit with me, you're welcome to join. It's basically what you said to me. I'm going here. You can come with me if you want to. Our oldest son, Jack, got super into it immediately. Our daughter, Rosalind, joined in as well. They each set a habit that we're working on for 60 days, but mine is no yelling because I just kept mulling over the fact that I couldn't get past the first two in the laundry list of what love is. And
the first day you had to start over, right?
The first day I yelled at the dog and I had to start over. It's painful. The work of love is it's not this gushy feeling. It's the hardest.
But I'm going to tell you something that's important. And, people hear this from me a lot. I say, Joey and I talked about this last night, actually, because we did a podcast together. And he said, you're truthful. I know you're never going to lie to me. And he's like, and sometimes that's really hard. Like I kind of hate it, sometimes. And I brought up, us in like food and you making food and different things and me being on it. But I'm like, I'm going to be honest, right? So here's where I'm going to be honest with you now in a very good way, the way I was honest with you before, in other ways where I'm saying, hey, you can really work on this thing. You're on the path because you're curious. You're going, hey, let me look at this. Let me be honest with where I am. Let me see where I can grow. Let me think and experiment and see if I can find a way to get better. That's what the whole journey is about. It's not about being right. You're never going to be the patient person you want to be.
Right.
But if you're on the path, if you're trying to become more patient always and forever, then you will become probably more patient than you ever thought you could be. But whenever you're there, you're going to look at like a Buddhist and be like, yep, I got more work to do.
I'm not that Zen.
But yet tomorrow I'll try. Tomorrow I'll try meditating. Tomorrow I'll try this. You just keep progressing forward. Mm-hmm. And I also love what you did too, where you read the definition and you stopped, and you said, again, curiosity. I wonder why the Lord put it number one.
Yeah. Why is patient first?
Maybe I ought to look at that. Maybe I had to take a look at the number one thing that they said. Okay,
Yeah.
if I can't pass that one, maybe I shouldn't even like worry about the other ones yet.
Yes. Which is so human nature, and certainly something I struggle with, to want the thing that you're supposed to work to attain, to want it delivered easily in pill form.
Or you want to go through the definition of love and you want to skip to the ones that you know you're good at.
Sure.
And be like, oh yeah, good. Yep, I love. No, that makes a lot of sense. So let's go back to this idea of the parenting thing, and I think we're probably going to need to wrap soon, which is amazing. But so here I was thinking about what you said, and with your parents, I know you love both of your parents just like tremendously, and you've got a great relationship.
Oh yeah.
But with your dad especially, I think he held a bit of like a superhero vibe for you, right? Like a person who was like so good. Am I right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think there's
my dad held the same
thing.
My dad held the same thing actually. It was just sort of like this, he was successful and this and that. And I just looked at him, and when you're young, you're sort of blinded to any of their faults, and they can become a superhero. And I think that was a part of our generation growing up, that our parents, not that they had any ill intent, they were just hiding their weaknesses from us, so that because they thought that's what was best for us. They didn't want us to see that necessarily.
Maybe a little slower to admit impediments. They were a reaction, of course, to the way they were raised, and they did better than the way they were raised. So it's there's grace for the generations before us, and hopefully our children will do a way better job than I'm doing, because I know I fail every single day.
But I think the transformation that we're having, and maybe we can teach other people that they can be brave enough to do this, is to tell our kids right away, we're not superheroes. Like we're not God. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
We are human. We have a past. We have mistakes. We have so many things that we're not proud of.
Yeah.
And daily we're working on us and trying our best.
Yeah.
And from there we're going to try to parent you.
Mm-hmm.
And by saying that to them, I think we've really opened up some beautiful relationships with our kids, and talking points, and we get them to like share things and be honest with us about things that I never dreamed of having this great of a relationship with my kids that we do.
Yeah, I have to agree. What's can you remember one time? We'll say Jack, because he's the oldest, but I know you guys have had some really sweet times together at the studio. Is there one that stands out in your mind that was just particularly, it caught you off guard?
That he did?
That he shared something with you, either shared his heart with you, or just where you had a moment where you thought, oh, I never could have imagined having times like this with our kids.
Well, here's the thing. So I want to build trust. I want to build honesty. I want our kids to be able to just tell us the truth fearlessly, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if it's not what we want to hear. And so this happened last night, actually. And it's a small thing, but it was big to me.
Okay.
I was going through the script that we're writing for Valleywood. It's a Star Wars script, kind of funny. And Jack's listening, and he's smart, so he's picking up on the jokes and this and that. And I had these characters called the Hacker Hunters that I thought was clever in replace of the Bounty Hunters. Well, he didn't get it right away. He's like, what is that, Hacker Hunters? Because he's never heard of the word hacker.
Right.
And I was like, oh, it's like the Bounty Hunters, And he's like, oh, well, why don't you call it the Bounty something? And I was like, that doesn't really make sense, And he's like, okay, well, what about this and what about that? And he's like, what about that Bounty Hackers? And I was like, well, maybe. And he's like, I think it's a little bit better. And then he runs off. And then I'm going like,
did you take the note?
Here's the thing, that for the first like 20 minutes, just like everybody else in the world, I get the gut check. I'm like, that's a note from my 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. And then as I'm kind of like breezing through it, I'm like, you know what? If he didn't understand the word hacker, for sure, it's not good. And bounty maybe is more bounty hunter. Bounty is more unique, so maybe that makes more sense. Whatever. So I rewrite it. I'm like, it's bounty hunters now, or bounty hackers. And so then I told him that, and he just goes, he's eating chicken last night at like 11 p.m. and he's just like, yeah, I think that's a little better, Dad. That's all. He didn't care. He didn't want the win. He wasn't trying to be right. Like, it had nothing to do with that. It was legitimately his truth was, I'm hearing your script. I'm listening to what you're writing. I'm sincerely trying to help you. I have a note for you. That's love. That's pure love.
Yeah.
Coming from my son to me. And that's a small example. It's happened many, many times in different ways. And I hope that it continues to happen over time, because I've shared different things with our kids and shown them, hey, here's where daddy's weak. Here's where daddy's working on different things. And if you notice this thing, I give you permission to talk to me about it. And they have.
That's wonderful. I have things like that too with them, where I've given them permission to remind me of certain things, and if it's done in love and respect, it doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I'm thankful for it.
Well, I'm thankful for you, and we are at the end of our show here. We had so much to talk about. I feel like we barely even scratched the surface of where I want to go.
That's correct.
So we're going to have Leeann Deering back on. Okay, Joey gives me the thumbs up, 100p. All right, very good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. This has been Leeann Deering here live on the Mornings with Matt show. We are live recorded here from our cabin. We're having such a great time over the 4th of July week. Thank you so much to all of you who tune in. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. It means a whole lot to us. Thank you. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.